This is Carl Ackerman, host of Journeys of the Mind, and we are a part of that great organization, ThinkTech Hawaii, run by that mensch, Jay Fidel. Today, it is our honor to have, that entrepreneur sensational or sensational, if I want to be French about it, um, Eric Fujimoto. And Eric is not only a very successful, I think it's Barron's and Forbes that have recognized him as being the most successful wealth manager in Hawaii, the entire state of Hawaii. So this is quite an accomplished feat. But we're also interested in his philanthropic work. I should say, good afternoon, Sir Fujimoto.
Oh, thanks, Carl. Thanks for having us. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So tell us a little bit about your own life and how you got into the business world, because I'm sure you went to a terrific college.
I just would self-describe myself as a local boy, born and raised in Pearl City. Went through the Pearl City school system, proud graduate of Pearl City High School. Um, once through that humble and happy beginnings, I was fortunate enough to go to college on the mainland. So I went to Claremont McKenna College and hurried back with two degrees, one in economics, one in government, and came home and wanted to make a difference in the community.
Well, you sure have made a difference. Let's talk about what you just came back from today, because I watched the video of what you were doing in terms of that prom you attended. Could you describe that first? Because that is really an amazing event.
Hey, thanks for bringing that up, Carl. The Unity Prom is something that's near and dear to our family's heart. We were approached by Kaimaki High School principal at that time, Wade Araki, and he said, "Hey, you like help us with one prom?" And initially we were, but then he started to describe it. It's for students with special needs. And before he could finish his sentence, my wife and I were all in. That, we felt as if the message of love, unity, and inclusion was needed by all. And, we were blessed that this is our fifth year doing this event where we have students with special needs from the local high schools come down and they can bring dates. And these dates are captain of the football team, captain of the cheerleading squad, and the athletes of the University of Hawaii. We partnered with Miss Chinatown and the Miss Hawaii organization, and they were also present this year as well. It was a pretty special event to just see the smiles on the students' faces and the content in their hearts when they left.
You've also included in working with these challenge students with coaches, because I think I saw like a coach from, am I right about basketball team or the women's basketball team at UH? Did I get it right? Or volleyball team?
I think you could just come right down the list from top to bottom. We were blessed that the entire University of Hawaii athletics department bought the message and went all in. So you had the uh, Coach Chang from the men's football team, you had Coach Ganat from the men's basketball team, and the strongest supporters of them all were on the women's side. So we had Coach Bud from soccer, Coach Beeman from women's basketball, and most especially, probably their staunchest supporter is Coach Rabina Mole and her team. And it was just phenomenal to see these local athletes, these iconic athletes that the entire state of Hawaii, watch, each and every year in and year out. And they're on the dance floor, they're dancing with each student and helping each student create a memory of a lifetime. If I could add to that, it's a contagiousness that was built, and we are just blessed that Chaminade University also embraced the message, and they too are planning prom for special needs for the public schools on the west side later on this year.
You've started something special, Eric, and you and your team. And I think that's what's so amazing about that is that a lot of the programs like Pueo that you have supported were initially started by Larry Johnson at the Bank of Hawaii, who took students from the high schools in Hawaii and afforded them 4 years of college, and had every employee at Bank of Hawaii, you know, contribute. So it's sort of like that. We get the genesis of something, and then it spreads to organizations like Pueo or Kai at Iolani, et cetera. So let's talk about your philanthropic work. And I want to ask you, first of all, your connection to UH Sports, why you decided to really be someone who supported UH Sports, because you have marvelous coaches there. And of course, I was a great fan of the quarterback coach, Dan Morrison, for many years.
Yeah, thanks for asking about athletics. I feel as if that's the ultimate reality show that teaches people a lot about themselves, both as an athlete, but also as fans, also as fans. And when you asked, why the University of Hawaii and how to help, I truly believe that the University of Hawaii athletic program is the heartbeat of our community. When they do well, we feel well. When they're, may not be clicking in all cylinders, we feel a little bit under the weather with them. And, coming from Hawaii, we have that pride in who we are. And, they oftentimes will reference that they have Hawaii across their chest. And I think they also have Hawaii in their hearts. And, just when they go out there and they represent our state, there's a true pride factor that exists. And we just wanted to do our part in helping that occur.
Why do you think that Hawaii sports, especially the University of Hawaii, are so important to local people like yourself and myself?
I think that it's a part of our culture, right? We rally together. We love the underdog, and people sometimes see athletes, but I see memories. I see the fact that these teams have given us, iconic memories that we talk about till today. And the I thank each and every athlete and each and every coach that continue to play for all the right reasons. I think that you see a change of environment and culture with some of the new NCAA rules that are in effect. And I think it's vital that we remember what's important when they play.
It's also reflected in the geography of Hawaii and how people refer to things. Because I know my wife always refers to Stadium Park as an example. She'll say, "Yeah, it's right near Stadium Park," and that's because she went to that stadium, as a girl, and being born in the territory of Hawaii. I guess I shouldn't give out our ages, but I failed miserably just now. But that's very interesting. So let's go on to another philanthropic effort. And by the way, let's first describe your organization, your philanthropic organization. Because here you are, a very, very successful manager of wealth, but yet you're devoted a considerable amount of your time to philanthropy. And so let's talk about your organization first, and then I'm going to ask you about one of your second big charges in terms of philanthropy.
Hoya the Foundation was founded 11 years ago. So we completed a proud decade in making a difference in all islands of Hawaii. So thank you for that. And we look forward to our next decade together. Where the foundation focuses on the youth of today. We define that from preschool all the way through college. And there's four areas that we'd like to really put emphasis on. So one would be academics, athletics, art, and sustainability. What makes Hoya so unique is that every grant dollar pays it forward twice. And what I mean by that is the recipient of a grant, that they do what they can use with those dollars and make a difference in their school, community, or club. And we ask that they pay it forward and however they would want to do it. So if we're helping a music department, they've done a free Christmas concert at the local senior center. When we help an athletic team, they've cleaned up their local baseball park that they practice and play in. And when we help some of the athletic academic students, they've done lightly used gift cards and clothing drives that they've also given to some of the students that are less fortunate. And the hours that are created in the journey has been over 1,000 community hours have been generated in them paying it forward and giving it back.
How do you, on one of those four categories, I wanted to know how you define art. I mean, is it broader in the sense of art being music, art being theater, art, or is it strictly like painting and watercolors, etc.?
It is as broad as we can make it, as it comes to art. I don't envy the Board of Education and, the Department of Education and, balancing budgets. And, when you see that they need to make tough decisions like cutting art programs and librarians and, music programs, we'd like to think we do our part to kind of complement the void so as to make a difference in some of these students that without art or without music and without um, they would they may not have found their calling, and so we like to think we did our part in helping move us individual forward.
You certainly have. And don't you have banquets to celebrate what you've done and invite the various groups that you funded?
We do. We have our annual gala. We'd like to thank MW Restaurant for graciously opening up their restaurant to supporting our foundation. And through these events, we shine the light on various programs that are making a difference in our community. Uh, and that particular event, really gives us the funding to host, prom for special needs students, or taking an entire athletics clinic to the island of Lanai, and being able to host the STEM program and make differences at the local universities where we've partnered with elementary schools who would come out and understand some of the sciences that's ingrained in the different communities, and it's all free. And then that's the kicker. 100% of the donations that come through Hawaii the Foundation goes immediately into the community, and we pride ourselves in being able to be great community partners.
I also know that you have not just MW, but you've gone to the Kapiolani Culinary Institute. So it was a win-win-win in the sense that there are these students who are preparing all the food, and how did that come about? Because I mean, in other words, even your banquets were doing a service for the community, and that's something special.
And that's that whole practicum. That's that whole teaching. I think that we really appreciate the teachers in our community, and yet we realize that the importance of hands-on and internships and being able to demonstrate what you're learning. That kind of partnership is vital, I think, to have a student transition to become a successful career individual. So we were blessed that, the Kapilani Community College and the culinary program, really embraced our message. And we had partnered with Chef Grant Sato and his team. And we felt as if, we had supported in the culinary arts and also in the academic side at Kapiolani. And so to your point, we were very fortunate that we were able to partner with them in some of our events that we host.
And I have to say, it was like a 5+ restaurant. Well, when I attended one of those, that was just absolutely
Yeah,
delicious.
couldn't agree more that, I really appreciate the opportunity today to celebrate what's right with the University of Hawaii system. We celebrate their athletes, we celebrate their culinary program and their leaders. And to think that, as you mentioned, there were five-star, meals being prepared by college students, our local college students. So that's something we should be all proud of.
I've been invited to go to sometimes events that honor, important, or I should say, people that are known that have graduated from the University of Hawaii. And I was very impressed. And this is something that my boss at ThinkTech, Jay Fidel, he interviewed General Robert Lee. And General Robert Lee was, he went to the University of Hawaii and he's homegrown. I think he went to McKinley, if I'm not mistaken. And he became, an important general in the United States. And so, the University of Hawaii allows local kids to go to school at a price that's affordable. And I think that even today, you can still work and go to the University of Hawaii. You can't do that, for example, in the state where I grew up, in the University of California. It's too expensive now. So that's really wonderful. Speaking of colleges, you really have paid a lot of attention to that really remarkable school, Claremont McKenna. And I say remarkable because it really produces great leaders, and it produces really interesting children that go there, or I should say, young people that go there. Really come out with wonderful degrees and go off and do things across the United States and in the world. So, why Claremont McKenna? Because if you think about it, there are five colleges there, and it's very impressive, one of those five colleges, but there's so many universities and colleges. But so why Claremont McKenna?
I am extremely biased. Uh, I, as a proud alum of Claremont McKenna, it's the responsible leadership message, that you can come out with a degree that, you're most proud of. In this instance, for me, it was economics and government, but the theme was woven from start to finish on how to become a responsible leader, in, the community by which you're going to work and live. And through that, we've made a difference, I think, with the message. It's a college that absolutely punches above its weight.
What are the things that you've seen? And well, first of all, can you describe their university president right now? I know he's going to retire next year, but he has been, from what I've read about him, he's been a kind of a remarkable guy.
President Hiram Chodosh is going to go down at Claremont McKenna College as one of amongst the most, you know, um, trailblazing presidents that the college was fortunate enough to have. Through his leadership, his campaign, $1 billion, right? I mean, the community banded together from private donors to alumni. It was like 60% of alumni gave towards the campaign towards $1 billion, which they achieved. They achieved, doing that, and it's transformed the college, to be able to, get their message out, which was to, make a difference in each community through responsible leadership. And when you have a visionary like that, his words matter, and the when you look back on it, what he's done will be pretty remarkable.
He built, or I don't know if he's still building. I think it's probably completed by now. But I read about the fact that he built a new kind of science center. Can you tell us something about that? Because I know you're a big supporter of that college.
I think what's kind of impressive is he had a unanimous kind of assent where the college had traditionally been one for the humanities, specifically in like economics and government. And he's transitioned it to a true liberal arts with the emphasis on science and data science. So the Robert Day Science Center was built, and as a result, we have a true balance between all kind of facets of the liberal arts experience.
I heard this, so you tell me whether you could verify this. But with the other colleges like Harvey Mudd and Pitzer and Pomona, and it's so hard to get into those schools now. Harder than almost the Ivy League. But can kids go to different cafeterias? Like if you were a student at Claremont McKenna, can you go to the other cafeterias and eat food? I always was kind of amazed by that.
The Five College Consortium is one of the secret weapons, I think, in all of the Claremont colleges. You are welcomed without any hesitation to take classes on each campus. And also, you can eat at every dining hall that you would want. So the true kind of interdisciplinary experience of Claremont colleges, and specifically at Claremont McKenna, yes.
I've eaten in some of those dormitories, and there's there's terrific food.
Their food is great. Yeah,
And I
it's
remember, my experiences at the co-op in Berkeley, where I went as an undergraduate, and having those jars serving as cups and sort of like old chairs and things like this, whatever they could pull into the co-op and stuff like that. So that's really quite marvelous. And they have for I think Claremont McKenna has pretty strict regulations about alcohol use too. So that probably provides a safe environment. In addition, is that true? Also, I'm just going to you to be the confirming person about this.
uh, they're maybe not. That's a
Okay.
little off. That they actually have an alcohol policy that's a little more open, which allows for alcohol consumption in a responsible manner on campus with a ton of safeguards. And I think that that's a way to just bring a little bit of reality, to the college campus. And it's one of the scenarios that, but they keep it, with strict rules and safeguards that would allow for, I guess, a safe environment to consume alcohol.
And I knew a student in Hawaii who went to Claremont McKenna, and there was a chemistry teacher because you were talking about science named Nancy Williams, and she really played a big part in her life. And this student went on and got a PhD at the University of Rochester, and then is now teaching at Emory University. And so I think that Claremont McKenna is a wonderful place. But I want to move on to something local,
Okay.
and a local high school program. And you have contributed to the Clarence T.C. Ching POYO program. And I just want to say, I saw you and how you contributed, not only financially, but your wonderful wife, Lori, I saw delivering food. There was a big project at the Art Academy. And she not only did you contribute financially, but she brought the food she probably had to take several trips because I think it was a whole organization, which was like 300 kids,
Yeah.
and provided the food. And, she opened the back of your car and was distributing the food. And, that's really quite remarkable. So I guess there are two questions there. Why did you contribute to this local program, which provides scholarship for kids in the DOE to come to Punahou for 7 years, and then in an attempt for the Punahou and the DOE in partnership to send these kids to college to be successful? And the program is very successful. But what motivated you to? This is the first question, to contribute to Pueo, and the second question is: it seems like you get your entire family involved because I know you have two sons. Correct me if you have more, but you have two sons, and and so two questions. The first is why Pueo, and the second is you get to your family involved, and why do you do that?
I think the two questions can be blended as one. That why Pueo, and why do we involve our entire family? And my response is it's to lead by example and to show, not tell people, right? To demonstrate by leading by example. And for me and for our family, for Lori and I, again, humble beginnings, happy beginnings. But we really felt it important to level the playing field. That Punahou is a fantastic opportunity, and if anyone is blessed to experience a Punahou education, that's so fantastic. And what we wanted to do was do our part in being more inclusive, for allowing for the Pueo program that you so passionately embraced and nurtured. And we're just happy to be a partner, that we were able to make a difference in the lives of public school students who would be given an opportunity that upon successful graduation of Pueo would be allowed to interact as an alum with other Punahou students. And they may not know it as a seventh grader, but I'm sure they absolutely can embrace an opportunity when they graduate to understand the true power of the Punahou family and the Punahou brand.
And I think the trajectory, what you've done is you've changed as supporting the program, the trajectory of kids often who come, well, as part of the requirements, they must come for a free reduced lunch. So you changed the trajectory of perhaps not only these children, but their families and perhaps extended family. So it's a great thing that you've done.
I'd I'd love to think that we did our 1% part, in helping kind of one of those you need a village, right, to build a student. And we just were thankful that we were able to complement a lot of your hard work, your vision, and the way that you really could see potential. And we also couldn't agree more, that every student deserves that opportunity. uh, and again, I go back to that sentence of we just wanted to provide a level playing field, that no matter your beginnings, that your end, you control that story and how you want to end that chapter. And I felt as if the Punahou and slash Pueo partnership would achieve that for those individuals.
Thank you. And I want to ask a little bit, I want to probe a little bit more into the family dynamic. So when you go home, and especially if you've gone to an event like you went to today, is this discussion? I mean, your boys are probably gone now, gone simply because they're old enough to be off doing their own things. Did you have like conversations with your boys at the dinner table? I mean, how did that operate in terms of, I'm looking at the culture of the home in terms of philanthropy?
I think just sorry for being Captain Obvious, but sitting down for dinner, as a family, and just kind of talking story and being great listeners. I think that that might be a great reminder of an easy to do, high impact, item for all. In the sense of how did we involve our sons in the planning and also in the participation with permission, right? They were able to leave school and they were at prom. They were at the Unity prom and they were dancing with these students and really feeling what it feels like to make a difference. And I think that's addictive. I think that that's taught, right? To train yourself in how to make a difference in the lives of others. To kind of complement that, it happened even prior, right? At the Pueo program, when we partnered with Pueo, our sons were at these events and they were drawing postcards that would go on the hokulea for Malama Honua. And, the distribution of these cards to greet the keiki of Polynesia, that's mind boggling to think that, you and I did that. That's just amazing.
Yeah, and a lot of and even the program going forward under its current leadership, Dr. Kealoha, is absolutely marvelous. And so that's the these things which you start, continue. I'm going to ask one last question, and this is a question that has to do with your local roots. I notice when you sponsor things, and for example, when you were at a Pueo banquet, or for example, you walk in, you're not making a big fuss about who you are. There are some people who don't operate that way, that want to have a lot of attention on themselves. And then that's not bad. I mean, because maybe they made a great contribution, I mean, so, goodies for them. But you're very low key, and you wear the aloha shirt. You come in, you look like you could be a father of one of the Poyo kids, and you're very low key in your approach. So, is there, do you think, in Hawaii, especially among philanthropists, especially people who grew up here, a way of giving back that's very subtle and very humble? I guess that word is the most important word. A humble way of giving, because that's what strikes me, quite frankly, about you, Sir Fujimoto, about the way you do philanthropy.
You're too kind. You're too kind. Um, it's interesting, right? I mean, I think we all were taught that growing up. I think, when you look at your parents and great role models. And it's not what they say, it's what they do. So I think that that's a start. Um, the I guess you just try to work from the inside out. That you just work from the inside out on why you're giving. And if you can fulfill the inside of who you are and answer those questions of why you're giving, the rest takes care of itself. I think that when you look at most philanthropists, it's alignment to their cause and it's alignment to their values as to why they give. And I think when you start there, good things happen.
So I'm going to leave you the last word here today because I want you to give advice to our audience. Hopefully, some are young people that are getting into the philanthropic world. I always take great pride in the fact that our senior senator Brian Schatz of Hawaii, before he became senator, worked for Youth Service Hawaii and then for Helping Hands. So he was involved heavily with nonprofits, and that's where he got his education. And of course, his childhood was basically brought about by a woman who was an artist, and his father was a cardiologist who also implemented the kind of values you've implemented with your children. So, what advice would you give in your closing comments? And if you could mention the name of your nonprofit once again in your closing, Eric, that would be wonderful.
I kind of start with the premise that people want to help others, right? I mean, when you internally challenge yourself, do you want to make a difference in somebody's life? Um, I would think most people would say, yeah, I want to make a difference in someone's life. And the one thing about giving, I think there's a misnomer that it has to be about money, and it's farthest from the truth, right? If you want to give your aloha, if you want to give of your time, aloha is free, right? Love is free. And when you can start there, um, that's when you're making a difference. And at Hoya, the foundation, we'd like to think it's that exact same concept of, just you are an ohana serving ohana, right? We're helping others and time, talent, treasure. So, please start now in terms of making a difference in the life of someone that you want to mentor, and you don't have to um, give anything other than aloha and your experience. And I'm sure we all are filled with that. So um, to each, I would challenge them to start there.
What a terrific experience it has been today talking to you, Eric Fujimoto, because not only are you occupied with your being number one in terms of wealth management, but your philosophy about philanthropy, which you just described, that you are part of a ohana, and I think you see the ohana as encompassing all of Hawaii and serving all in Hawaii. And I just
That's
think
correct.
that
That's
is
correct.
that is just really a very thoughtful and kind way of thinking about philanthropy. So this is Carl Ackerman, host of Journeys of the Mind under the wonderful framework of ThinkTech Hawaii. We were blessed today to have the words of Eric Fujimoto. Aloha.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.